basic agenda of today's call would be. Uh, we wanted to discuss the basics, which is going to be what is housekeeping, what should be the mindset of a housekeeper. Apart from that, we will get into some details of cleaning a guest room, washroom, some tricks around that. But more importantly, what I really want to touch upon is the impact of housekeeping. Now, in terms of guest experience, but what it means for your property in general. So before we get into that, and I'm sorry, I probably haven't introduced myself. My name is Rohit Goyal. I'm based out of Dallas, and I look after guest experience for OYO USA. So I must have, and I may have coordinated with a lot of you. I do see a lot of owners over here whom I've already spoken with, but I would love to keep that interaction going on, and we'll try to make it a lot more collaborative. And even if you all do want to speak one-on-one as to how do we fix some issues and what do we do to improve the experience of guests, I would be more than happy to get on a call and speak about that. Because as I said, at the end of the day, we can create out specific plans to improve ratings, which will, and I can also talk to you about what would be the revenue potential and how we can maximize it very specific to your property. So would love to do that as well. So as we move forward, wanted to start off with the basics. So what is housekeeping? Now, basically, if you look at that slide, it just talks a little bit about good housekeeping is essential within the hotels and hospitality sector. The guests and visitors have high expectations about the standard of accommodation. More than anything, what over here, what we wanted to say is that yes, they do have high expectations, but even then, apart from high expectations, the basic expectation of any guest is a clean and a safe room. Now, that is the base that any customer experience, any customer wants. And besides, I'm sorry, I think there's been some disturbance. Just give me 1 second, please. Yeah, I'm sorry. I hope my voice is clear now. I did notice on the chat there was something about my voice not being clear. Thank you. So what we want to say is the basic expectation of a guest is to have a clean and a safe room. Now, as and more that they pay for the room, the expectation of a guest keeps increasing. So having said that, to not give a guest a clean room is probably just shooting yourself in the foot, because that is exactly what it is. Because at the end of the day, you're not meeting the basic expectations, so you're failing at hospitality 101 over there. Now, we do say housekeeping is extremely important in hotel operations, but more so in the current scenario where we are all going through a pandemic. The housekeeping team is definitely the most important team. They're a team that deserves recognition and applause. Like I said, from a guest experience perspective, this team is most critical towards driving guest experience. Like I keep saying, they make or break the experience. But when I say that, what I see is that we've done a lot of analysis, and I'll keep sharing some insights of the analysis that we have kept on doing, and I'll keep sharing that. But we've seen that most of the negative reviews that we've gone in and analyzed, they have been somewhere centered around cleanliness or housekeeping issues. Now, housekeeping issues can obviously be categorized into a lot more details, and we keep doing that as well. It's not just about not having a clean room. It also means about not having enough fixtures or not having proper fixtures working. And I know we can consider that as a maintenance issue, but I'll come to that as to why I feel that's more of a housekeeping problem. So from a revenue perspective, I would encourage you all to not view housekeeping as just as a cost center, but also one that has huge revenue implications for the property. And I keep saying this a lot internally, but would like to come out and say this. I always believe good housekeeping leads to a happy guest, that leads to better ratings, and that leads to better revenue potential for the hotel. So I know it's not a great saying, but it's true. So please, that's exactly what the message that we want to drive through today's webinar. We'll quickly go over what should be the mindset of the housekeeper. Now, the mindset is the attitude towards how you would view housekeeping. It reflects on how you manage challenges that come to your way. So it's very important that the mindset of a housekeeper is defined and expectations are set. The mindset should be more expansive than just cleaning the room. In my mind, the mindset should always be as to whether a customer would like it, whether you would stay here if you would step into the shoes of a customer, So it's extremely important to be empathetic. We do talk a little bit about 3 important principles that a housekeeper should always maintain, which is caring. Now, this is being concerned for the other person. Be consistent with that attitude. You should always think about nothing is too much trouble, because the amount of requests and odd requests that a housekeeper receives at a hotel, at a property, is too far to even list it down. So you should have an attitude of nothing being too much trouble. Always going out of the way to help a guest is important. And obviously having pride and care and showing that you're authentic. The other is guest experience. And what we mean by that is obviously giving a better guest experience, where we do say creating wow moments. So at every moment of truth, and by that we mean that every moment that you're interacting with the customer, even if it's for 1 second, 1 minute, or 1 hour, that is a moment of truth that you have. We want you to create wow moments there. So for example, and a very small example that we have here is that supposing it's raining, please remind them and ask them if they have an umbrella. If you have an umbrella, if you have some extra umbrellas at the lobby, please give them that. You do know that the guest is going to return back. They will return your umbrella. But the most important thing that is going to come out through that is that the guest will remember, oh, somebody went out of the way to ensure that I do not get wet. Could be that the guest is going to an important meeting, is going to meet someone important, and they do not want to obviously go and give that impression that they just encountered a heavy shower. Obviously, having pride is really important. By this, we mean having pride in your work, first of all, having pride in the team, and also having pride in the hotel. So it's about having pride in yourself as well. So how you present yourself, how you clean each room, how you help each other out. It is extremely important to keep these in mind. So very quickly, what we want to tell is the next page that we have is the housekeeping caddy setup. So this is just going into the basics that we have. We really want to take you through this, because what we feel is that you should be looking at all your. What we want to say is that for every person that actually enters into housekeeping, this is probably the most critical step, because even cleaning rooms is not that important as setting up your caddy. This is probably the first step that you have to do. You will start noticing that if you are good at setting up your caddy, you're saving on time, you're saving up on revenue, because you're not spending too much time, you're cleaning your rooms more efficiently. So it is definitely the most time effective, the most cost effective, and definitely just in general more efficient as well as a method. So we do have the basics lined up here. No way is this an exhaustive list, but in the next slide, we'll take you through some basic equipment that we want you all to keep. And it obviously varies from each hotel depending on the surfaces that you have and depending on different types of fixtures that you have in the room. But the basics that you would want to keep are definitely these. And these are just examples of equipment that you should be keeping in your caddy. Obviously a dustpan, a hoover, a toothbrush, toilet brush. Please keep a wet mop, dry mop, hand wiper. Definitely in today's world, keep more and more gloves. That is definitely probably one of the most important things. So we also have a list of chemicals that we want you all to use. Now, please note, I mean, we've kept brands here. They are not indicative. We've just given as a representative image. They are not indicative of what OYO mandates. And OYO actually does not even mandate any chemical. So what we mean to say is that all we're telling you is that you should have these sort of the array of chemicals, which is having a glass cleaner, having a toilet cleaner, having an all-purpose cleaner, having the hard surface cleaner, and having an air freshener. But besides this, the brand that you all want to choose is definitely something that you all can do on your own. So if you all remember some time back, we started out a scrub clean campaign. And by that, what we wanted to do was we wanted to start obviously observing and obviously recognizing the efforts that the housekeeping team is doing. And if you all know that what we've gone and done is we've applied special tags on the property, on the various OTAs such as Booking.com and Expedia. We're also linking up now with Google to do something similar. Besides that, on our own channels, on the OYO app and web, also you'll be seeing a special tag there, which is a scrub clean. During that time, we had mentioned that, again, we'd gone through the same point where we had said that OYO does not mandate any chemicals. But what we're saying is that it should be a CDC approved chemical. And By that, I mean to say is that the list is ever expanding. So the number of brands that actually were part of the CDC approved list of chemicals were probably very few right at the beginning when the pandemic broke out. But as and when more and more brands are meeting out the regulations, that list is expanding. We've actually gone ahead and we've seen, like we've done a small survey. We found out the different type of chemicals that a lot of owners are doing, and we've taken out a survey, and we had surveyed around 70 of our partners, and we found out the different chemicals that they're using for housekeeping. So it is nowhere the brand that they were using are definitely part of the CDC list. So it's not that we are telling you to start buying or procuring a brand that is going to be more expensive. So as long as it's CDC approved, we are happy. And that's the only thing that we would definitely recommend. Now, when it comes to Caddy setup, the other important part is definitely your dusters. Now, if you look at the slide here, we do talk a lot about different dusters here, which is a red, blue, green, yellow. The most important point to come out of this is you can choose the color of duster that you want for each surfaces. But what we are saying is that please color code your dusters so that the importance there is known, and you're not mixing up on the dusters that you're using even for each surface. And even if it's per room, but still the fact that you have it color coded, it still is more of a method to foolproof this entire process so that you do not mix it up amongst the surfaces. So now the next step that we have, and we actually have Jenny here, and she'll take you through the next few slides.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you so much for everyone joining this webinar. Like Rohit mentioned, we are focusing on Housekeeping Appreciation Month, and wanted to go ahead and take you all through the steps for cleaning a guest room. There are a few items within this process that we really want to highlight that could really make and elevate the guest experience overall. As you can see in this slide, we have a comprehensive summary of all the steps from knocking on the door to exiting the door once the housekeeping has completed the cleaning of the guest room. So we'll go through all of these steps in more depth, and we'll go ahead and talk about some of the key highlights. So the first step, entering the guest room. This is a very important step that we want to stress. We highlight how to go in and knock and enter in a room. We want to make sure that we're being mindful of respecting the guest space. And so we want to make sure that we go through the steps. So the first step, we always encourage and recommend that the housekeeping staff knocks about 3 times and announces a housekeeping before entering the room. There is a safety measure with announcing housekeeping. We want to make sure that the guest understands that it is staff that is entering the room. We want to make sure that no stranger is trying to get into a room, or the guest feels comfortable at all times in terms of safety. So we want to make sure that we're always announcing the housekeeping staff. If for any reason the guest doesn't answer, or there is no answer coming from the room, we do encourage the housekeeping staff to knock for a second time and repeat the step. We recommend for this step to happen at least 3 times before entering the room with the master key if there has been no response. Of course, things to take into consideration before knocking are things such as do not disturb signs, or if the guest has, for some reason, communicated to the front desk that they want a specific time in which they would like housekeeping to come in and clean the guest room. We just want to be mindful of the guest's requests. So we want to take into consideration these aspects before knocking. If after 3 times there's no response from the guest, then it is acceptable to enter the room using a master key. We want to still make sure we check. The first thing we do is we check in all areas of the guest room to make sure that the guest is not present. Oftentimes, what could happen is the guest might be in the restroom, perhaps taking a shower or sleeping to where they didn't hear the 3 knocks. And so we want to make sure that when we enter, we still check. If for any reason the guest is present at the time of entering the room, we always encourage an apology and to exit immediately, and then to follow up with the guest and ask what is a good time. We do encourage for long stays, we do encourage to definitely go in and check on housekeeping and definitely go in and clean the room as well. So as far as the second step goes, we want to make sure that when we're entering the room, the first thing we do is we discard items that are relating to food and beverages. So any plates, any dirty cups, any of the leftovers that are visibly and very evident to be thrown away, we want to make sure that we are throwing them away as soon as possible. We want to avoid having any odor stemming from the garbage being ingrained in any of the furniture or the room. So we want to make sure that that's the first items that we clear, along with the garbage and the dustbin. We want to make sure we're discarding them. The third step that we recommend is to broom and or vacuum for carpet. Again, one of the things that I definitely want to highlight here is we have created these steps in the chronological order strategically to save time and to build efficiency when cleaning a guest room. We know that in times where check-in has high volume and guests are checking out simultaneously, or housekeeping, housekeeping is happening. We want to make sure that we're doing it as efficient and as quickly as possible. So once we broom, once we vacuum the carpets, we want to go ahead and focus on dusting. Now this part is very important. As many of you are aware, we are in a pandemic, and now more than ever, hygiene and cleanliness are 2 aspects that guests really take into consideration when selecting a hotel they want to stay. And so in order for us to remain competitive within the market, we have to make sure that we're being as detailed as possible, even when we're cleaning at a fast pace and efficient pace. So we want to make sure that in this step, we're disinfecting the amenities, TV controls, the TV, we're dusting and disinfecting any of the furniture, the desks, the lamps, and any other items that are important, such as the phones and things of that sort. It just really helps with maintaining a clean environment. And so we want to make sure that we're really putting detailed, and we're not running by this step without detailed. So after dusting, what we recommend is for stripping the bed. Now, one of the things that we do recommend when stripping the bed is to searching for bed bugs. So this is more of a proactive measure, looking on the edges of the beds, the corners, looking underneath the mattress, and just doing a quick check on whether or not any bed bugs or any pest control issues in the room. We also encourage the staff, the housekeeping staff, when they're stripping the linen, to make sure that they've identified all stains and they mark on the side note where the stains are. And then once they put it in the laundry bag and it's time to remove those stains, they know exactly where the stains are located. These are the type of types of negative reviews where we'll see where the customer or the guest takes the time to write a review or insert a review. It's typically things related to bed bugs or things related to the linen not being clean or stains on the linen. So we want to make sure that these items are taken carefully in consideration. After the 5th step, what we like to do and we recommend is for wet mopping. This step is the last step we recommend for the purpose of avoiding having to redo any mopping. So we leave it as the last step in the process. Now the 7th step, we always like to go over branding and the setup of the bed. As you could see on the right-hand corner, we have some of the branding material, the runners, the red runners and the OYO cushions. Want to go over this quickly. Across our OYO hotels, we have made sure that all hotels are following this branding standards. Of course, OYO townhouses have a little bit different standards, but for the most part, this is what we encourage. For duvets to be folded at least 6 inches or 2 palm distance from the headboard, as you could see in step 1. And then as far as the pillows, we always encourage the pillows to be at a vertical angle, as you could see in step 3 and 2. The red cushion, we always place it in the middle of the pillows, the white pillows. As far as the runners, we always encourage all runners to be untucked. And then we do have all our runners 4 inches or 4 fingers away from the end of the bed, as you could see in step 5. So the next section is an activity which Rohit will take us through, and it's regarding bed making. So I'll hand it over to Rohit. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. So like we said right at the beginning, we'll be trying to make this more interactive. We'll be having some activities. So would definitely request you all to type out what you would feel in such activities, in such scenarios. What we want to do and what we want to achieve is definitely keep our energy high during the webinar. If you all keep providing us with answers and keep typing it out in the chat, we feel more encouraged and our energy levels are high. But also what we want to do is to definitely learn. I mean, you all have had experiences managing the hotels and operations, and that's far more valuable than what we can actually talk while sitting in an office. So it would definitely help if this would be if we can learn from each other over here. So just think of this scenario, and we've kept it out. And please note there are no right or wrong answers over here. So you walk into a guest room, and the bed is unmade. Now there's a cup of coffee and a laptop on top of the bed. What would you do in such a scenario? I'll give it around 15 to 20 seconds. We'll wait for some answers on the chat, and then we'll come back as to what we feel. But again, like we said, there are no right or wrong answers here. We're actually getting a lot of answers. That's really good. Just give it 10 more seconds before we actually come back. Please keep the answers coming. It's encouraging. think we have received a lot of answers. So, and please forgive me for this. I did not intend to do this, but we sort of put a curveball over here. We wanted to start off with a trick question, a trick activity over here. So it was extremely encouraging to see that someone asked this question, whether the guest has checked out or is a stay over. And that's something that we wanted you all to think, because obviously the scenarios would differ, right? In both cases, what you would do is you would come, you would want to clean the room, and you see that, oh, there's a cup of coffee and there's a laptop on top. Now, in both scenarios, the cup of coffee, which should definitely be removed, because while cleaning a room, any F&B leftover or food and beverage leftover is definitely removed from the room. Now, when it comes to the laptop on the bed and making the entire bed, there are different schools of thoughts here, and I'll just share my thoughts. What I would suggest and recommend is that whenever you come on and you see an expensive item, now we've for an image or for a representative sake, we've kept a laptop on top of the bed. It could be anything else. There could be some important jewelry, there could be some important files, all scattered out, papers, and you do not want to mess out the order of the papers and things like that if it's a stayover guest. So what you would do is you would definitely leave a note for the guest. Now that is extremely important, because they do not know what is going on in their head. Their expectation would be that, oh, they would just remove the laptop and keep it on the side. But that would extremely differ from your policy. So from their perspective, it should be known that you came to the room to clean. You are cleaning the entire room apart from the bed. So that's the only part of the room that is not being done, which is making of the bed. And that is exactly what my suggestion is. We did see a lot of you say that you can remove the laptop, keep it on the side, and then make the bed and then again place the laptop back. We would in most scenarios definitely suggest not to touch any expensive items or any personal belongings of the guest. But when it comes to a guest that is checked out, obviously you want to remove the laptop from there, but what would you do? And this would then go into what would be the lost and found policy of the hotel. So whether it means that you take the laptop and go and place it in the front office desk or at your lost and found counter, or you call your manager or your supervisor. But please do go ahead and follow the lost and found policy that has been instituted by a hotel. But in both cases, the cup of coffee definitely needs to be removed. So, I mean, that is what we probably want to suggest. And I know there could be different schools of thoughts here. So we have a second scenario, seems to be slightly easier. Would love to hear what your thoughts are. We'll again give it some time. You walk into a guest room, the bed is unmade, there is nothing on the bed. What do you do now? Just give it 5 more seconds. We're getting some answers now. Yeah, I think, again, not, and this again wasn't intentional, so please do not, I'm just the messenger here, so please do not shoot me. It was not meant to be a trick question. It is rather simple. Again, we're going to go back to the two different scenarios that we have, which is a checkout guest or a stayover. And as someone rightly mentioned on the chat, that if it is a checkout guest, then obviously you would go and do the full service, which is you would strip out the linen and you would completely do the bed and the entire room. You would clean the entire room. But if it's a stayover guest, it totally depends into what your policies are, especially when it comes to extended stay guests. And we have a different section on that, which we'll go through in more detail as to what you would do with extended stay guests. But just in general, with extended stay guests, probably would not do anything with regards to stripping out the linen from the bed. And even if it's a guest that is requested not to do any touch up due to any green policy that your hotel is following, then that's fine too. So again, we did not mean to throw it. The other activities won't have any curveballs or any trick questions there. We promise that. So very quickly, just want to take you through some do's and don'ts. And very important to note this. We've spoken a lot and on the chat and when Jenny was going through it as well. The most important one out of any, in my opinion, is definitely the fact that you would knock before you enter a room. And this has been spoken enough, right? Like when we say that, please knock, wait, and then enter the room. And this you would make it as such a habit that you would do it even if you know that that room has not been used for 3 months. Please, even if you know that that's been an out of order room, there's maintenance issues going on, but please always knock before you enter a room. That always removes any liability. In a hotel operations, we've seen different sort of scenarios happening. Everything has become so unpredictable and chaotic on the day of arrivals, especially when you're overbooked in some cases, or in some cases you're expecting a group arrival. And there are a lot of times when you see a group coming in and they're shifting rooms here and there. So whilst you're doing the cleaning of the room, you wouldn't know that, oh, the front desk has actually gone and checked in a guest, has given the key to a guest of a particular room there. So at times, this definitely removes all sorts of liabilities that you would have. So please always knock before you enter a room. We've spoken about this. Please use color-coded dusters, so use different dusters. Something which is very important, and we spoke about it, we touched a little bit during the housekeeper mindset, is the pride and the caring attitude. So definitely touching a little bit on the soft skills, but greeting your guests and colleagues with a smiling voice and a natural tone. Now, this is extremely important because we know that our housekeeping staff interacts with the guests on a daily basis. So always greeting the guests with a smiling voice, even if you're not speaking to them, always have a smile on your face. The smiling disposition definitely would be something that would be recommended. When we spoke about pride, we did say that the way that you carry yourself out is an important mindset. So always wear your uniform and be well groomed. So that is extremely essential. So at the time of the, when you enter the shift, please check if your uniform is in place, then do the caddy setup and only then start going into the guest areas. We cannot stress enough the importance of the next 2 points. So responding to guest requests on priority. So what we see in many cases, let's say there are 2 rooms right next to each other, room 202 and 204. Now you have been told to clean 202 and you're doing that. Whilst you're cleaning it, you obviously keep the door open. So the caddy is outside when you've only gone in and taken your important things into the room. So whilst your room is being cleaned, the room is being cleaned 202, the guest from 204 walks out and asks for some amenity, probably asking for a towel or asking for any other amenity, or telling you that, hey, I am facing this problem in my room. So it would definitely be important that you stop all other activities and treat that guest request on priority. Now that is something that you have to do right away. We would recommend that because every guest request comes before anything else that you're doing, any task at the hotel. So until the loop is being closed, and probably if it's a maintenance issue, until you've called the maintenance person and gone back and informed the guest that it will be 10 minutes before the maintenance person comes back, until you actually close that loop, please ensure that you haven't gone back and started doing work there. The next point that we want to talk a little bit about is identifying maintenance issues. And by this, what we want to say is that it's very easy for a housekeeper to audit rooms on a daily basis. What we mean to say is that it's the most effective manner. They are the ones that enter the rooms on a daily basis. So the housekeeper should definitely go in and start looking at every fixture and see whether it's in working condition or not. Whether the air conditioning is working, whether the television is working, whether the phone is working, whether there's hot water in the shower, whether the faucet is working, whether the taps are running. So those are the things that they definitely need to keep checking. Any light fixtures that are missing or things like that. And if there are, please identify those maintenance issues and note them down and inform your front desk or your maintenance team to go in and sort the issue out. This definitely makes it important because when we do see the reviews that we receive, I mean, most of the reviews, like I mentioned earlier, are definitely about, oh, the room is not clean, or the washroom is not clean, or the overall hotel did not give the perception of being clean. But we also see a lot of comments that come in as to, oh, we entered and this amenity was missing. Oh, there was no hot water in the shower. Now, those are the ones that actually hurt us a lot more, because those are the ones that could have easily been avoided, because you would anyhow go and do it. After you see the comment, you'll say that, oh yeah, I need to go and fix this room. So it would be more of a reactive measure than a preventive measure. So if the housekeeper is auditing those rooms and telling you that these are the issues every day, you would not receive such reviews. And it's a very easy way to actually boost up your ratings, because you would then start seeing and realizing that those negative reviews start reducing. And now you're only concentrating on the positive reviews. And that improves the rating considerably. I do not want to go over the don'ts in detail. Just one, which is very important that I want to say, is the smell of smoke. Because as we know in housekeeping, this definitely comes out to be an important point. Every guest has different levels of tolerance towards the smell of smoke. So please keep that in mind. Please bear it in mind. Even if you do smoke during a break, please ensure that you have mint and you're not smelling of smoke while you come back on duty. And that's the one that I really wanted to stress upon, especially more so in housekeeping. Now it's time for another activity. We'd love the energy to be up as it was during the last time. And I would request Jenny to take over this activity.
Okay, so we'll go over some of the questions on what housekeepers should not do. So the first one is knock at the door 3 times and announce housekeeping. The second is use guest bathrooms, guest rooms, or telephones, or anything in the guest room. Use different dusters for cleaning rooms and washrooms, or check for stains while making the bed. So we'll give y'all 30 seconds to answer. Okay, so all of the answers are correct. It is number 2. We don't want to use any items in the guest room if we are checking the amenities, if they're functioning or not. That is acceptable. Turning on the TV, making sure the remote works. That is very acceptable. But anything else regarding using any items in the room is not encouraged. So we'll go to the second one. Which one of the following should the housekeeper not do? So first, mop before you have made the bed. Second, when wet mopping, mop only with water. The third, remove any food and beverage leftovers like plates, glasses, bowls, etc. And then last but not least, do not knock on the door if there's a do not disturb sign. So yes, everyone got this correct. It's number 1. We do not want to mop before we have made the bed. Again, we want to make sure that is the last step to cleaning a guest room for the most effective way of doing so, just because we want to make sure that we don't have to remop any areas if any dust particles fall on the floor or anything that might make the floor unclean. The third one is, which one of these is not true about making the bed? So the duvet must be folded at a 6-inch or 2 palm distance from the headboard. The second is pillow must be kept vertical. The third, runners must be tucked in. And fourth, red cushion must be placed in the middle of the bed. Yes. So it is number 3. We want to not tuck in the runner. So that is the end of our activities, and he will take us through the next section on housekeeping tricks that could be utilized in house for stains.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you again for keeping our energy levels up. We definitely appreciate the answers that you're giving. We also seeing the comments, so definitely thank you for that. With the tips that you all are providing us as well. The next couple of slides that we actually want to talk to are the tricks. And what we mean to say, and what Jenny was saying correctly, was that these are things where when we do realize that there are some sort of stains on surfaces or on linen, and we feel that, or these stains can never come out, and or we would require to call in a deep cleaning agency, or we would probably need to buy an expensive chemical. By no means is this list exhaustive, but what we want to say is that there are some items that are available. These are all household items and they're available pretty cheap, and you can actually use them while cleaning any stain. So while just going over a few, and we just wanted to cover the top 5, which we felt were slightly important. So any floor stains or stains that you see next to the drainage, we would recommend to use some baking powder and vinegar, mix it, and then scrub it using a brush after applying that mixture. For any restroom stains in the water closet, this is something that you would do anyhow on a daily basis, is using a toilet bowl cleaner and cleaning it with the toilet brush. Now this is part of the washroom cleaning procedure anyhow. With regards to the wash basin or the outer side or the cover of the water closet, basically any place in the vanity counter or on the cover of the water closet, it becomes important, and it's very easy to actually just use detergent that you use for cleaning your clothes, mix that with a little water, and then dip a sponge in it and then scrub it out. So any stain that actually does not come out, it becomes easy, and you do not have to use any other chemical there on the for that stain. Now the next one is something which is very personal to me, because I keep seeing this happen to me a lot. I keep having a lot of food stains on my bed sheet, and I would definitely recommend to use soda as soon as possible to wash it. And that's the trick. It's extremely simple. Just apply some soda, and then once you place it in your laundry cleaner, it gets cleaned properly. There is no stain, so you do not really need to throw away the linen or even send it to a dry cleaning store or something like that. And when we actually come to the last one, it's the pen or ink stains, which are actually extremely hard to come out. You just need to use a sanitizer and a brush to clean. Now, again, what we're saying is these are not exhaustive, but these are definitely some things that we've tried and these are effective. So we would recommend to use them. And as we said, it's extremely inexpensive to procure such items. Now, we will go through how to cleaning, which would be cleaning of a washroom, and we'll take you through all the steps. But before we do that, we actually just wanted to cover some areas of the bathroom, the bath or the shower, which somehow get neglected, and they end up coming out in the guest reviews, mentions in the guest reviews. So, for example, we see a lot of times that the grouting between the tiles is either deficient, or you need to definitely pay attention to the grouting between the tiles. The caulking is sometimes deficient. It starts scraping off. And in that particular case, what generally starts to happen is that it gives a perception of the room or the washroom not being clean. And the guests feel that, and sometimes they also feel that it's some sort of a mold, and that's why they feel it's extremely unsafe or unhygienic to enter that guest washroom. But in reality, it's nothing that is your fault, because caulking by definition always comes out after a few years, and you need to keep replacing it. So those are the things that you need to pay attention to. Please pay attention to the shower head. We did say look at the shower and ensure that it's working, it's not blocked. We all know this, we all face this. There are different holes in the shower head that get blocked, and after that the water pressure is not ideal, and that sometimes leads to the experience of the guest. It takes it 1 or 2 levels below than what they actually were expecting. We all know this. I mean, after a good night's sleep, a good shower definitely is something which is very critical, and this is something that we would recommend to keep looking out for. Taps, the faucets, keep polishing them. Top of the bath, very essential and very simple, is definitely while you're cleaning the bathtub, do not enter the bathtub while standing, or please be on your knees while cleaning the bathtub. Now, please keep a lookout of the soap trays and the bath handles. and keep cleaning them as well. So these are some areas that we feel keep getting missed and sometimes come out in the reviews, because when we speak to the guests, they say that, oh, this area was something that we felt wasn't clean, especially in curtains, right? And you do see that a lot, because at times, even if you're replacing amenities, but they could have been some soap or shampoo that has been spilled onto the curtain by the guest while taking a bath, and that is not clean. And then the guest feels that, oh, nobody entered this washroom itself, and the perception of the guest keeps changing in that particular manner. We'll now take you through what are the different steps to clean the washroom. So if you actually look at the first step, it would be to flush the toilet, which is very basic. The second step would obviously involve using the toilet cleaner or the toilet bowl cleaner. You leave it to work for approximately 1 minute. Then you would actually go and use hand-out water and a toilet cloth, systematically clean the cistern, the handle cover, the seats, hinges, top of the bowl. So everything outside the toilet bowl, you would start cleaning that. After that, once the toilet bowl cleaner, the chemical has rested for a minute inside, you would brush underneath the rim, bowl, and the bend of the toilet. Then you would flush the toilet again. Now, the fifth part is something that we just covered in the previous slide, is where you're looking into the overall cleanliness of the washroom, and you are ensuring that all the other areas of the washroom are not missed. That is where you would actually go in and look at the towel holder. Now, for example, when you're looking at the overall cleanliness, you would obviously replace the towel holder, but replace the towels, but also see that the towel holder is polished and is clean. So there are no stains on the towel holder. Similarly, the last step would obviously, and very critical, are your toilet rolls. And this is something that sometimes get a miss. You do not replace out the toilet rolls that have been used, or you see that the toilet roll holder, sometimes the stains on top of that do not get cleaned as well. Now, those are things that we probably should be on the lookout for. Now, one more thing that I really wanted to touch on cleaning a washroom are, we like I said, when we're looking at the reviews, we're also looking at different types of reviews. So I wanted to give an insight as to one more very specific complaint that we get, which are stubborn mold stains. So what we see is that they say that, oh, there was mold in the bathroom. And at times they definitely could have been mold in the shower or in the washroom. And they're very stubborn. It's not that you do not want to remove it, but then probably you're thinking of calling in some professional help to remove this mold. But what we would recommend over here is that obviously a bleach solution and the dish brush just won't work. A bleach water solution just won't work. We would recommend you to use a paste of baking soda and water. Apply that. After that, once you do it, then you can definitely go back to using the bleach and water solution. But the first step would definitely be applying a paste of baking soda and water. The other thing, and I touched a little bit upon that, was caulking. As a general rule, caulk lasts approximately 5 years, and that depends on a number of variables, which are basically the type of caulk used, the quality of caulk used, and the application in general as to how the caulking was used. So please have a look into that as well, because that naturally as systematically keeps coming out. So please keep a lookout for that, because sometimes that gives a perception of the washroom not being clean as well. The next slide that we wanted to talk about, again, are how to clean the tiles, mirrors, and drains. Over here, what is extremely important to look at the tiles at the first couple of points is where you would use a diluted cleaning solution onto the scrubber. You would scrub from top to bottom. After that, you would clean a small area of the tile and grout, and then dry it with a sponge. After that, you would wet the sponge with hot water and remove the detergent. So first, obviously, use a dry sponge and clean a small area, and then with the wet sponge with hot water, remove the entire detergent. That would definitely be the method of cleaning the tiles. For mirrors, and again, we'll share the deck so you can go over all the points, but something very essential that we wanted to discuss was the best way to clean glass windows or tabletops is by either using a coffee filter or a microfiber cloth. So it actually yields more or less the same streaky shine, and it definitely gives a much cleaner perception or an image. So would recommend using a microfiber cloth. So the next step that we want to talk a little bit, and we earlier spoken in one of our activities, was green policy. Now, if your hotel is following a green policy, and what this means is, as hotels, we generally have a larger responsibility apart from providing good experience to the guests, um, and the larger responsibility is towards the environment. And we've seen a lot of hotels do this. Big hotel chains. There's no shame in not replenishing amenities if you are following the green policy, because if it's the same guest, they generally do not mind if the linen is not changed on a daily basis. But please ensure that any communication of such a manner there is adequate communication. These sort of informations are already shared with the guest. That becomes extremely critical. And in those particular cases, what we're saying is that now you do not need to replace a towel. You can actually you would replace a towel only if the guest throws the towel on the floor. If they leave it on the rack or on the towel holder, as we had seen, then you do not need to replace the towel on a daily basis. When it comes to sheets as well, we would recommend changing it only after 3 days, or in some cases, if you would have like a card, a 10 card that would place on the top of the pillow, saying that, hey, please do not change my linen, then please do not go in and change the linen. But in all other cases, if there is no communication, we would want you to replace the towels and the sheets on a daily basis. Now, very quickly, again, we'll just go over folding of a towel. Very basic. This gives a much better view, and this is how you would place it if there was sort of a shelf or if you would be placing the towels on a vanity counter. So lay a bar towel open and flat on a table, fold it half lengthwise, and then begin rolling the towel from one end. And then you generally reach this particular stage. If you remember, we spoke a little bit about extended stay guests. Now, I wanted to touch upon this point because it's from guest experience, they are extremely important. But we know the constraints that an extended stay guest brings to the hotel. They could be noisy, they may be disruptive in nature, and also they come at a very low ARR or at a very low room rate. So obviously providing them complete service is not feasible in most of the cases. And you must have agreed with them that, yes, we'll be providing you little or no housekeeping service throughout your stay. But that does not absolve us from all the responsibilities that we have. It does not mean that you do not enter the guest room every day, the housekeeping staff. You would not clean the guest room fully every day, but you would definitely collect all the trash daily. Now, this point becomes extremely critical because we know that with extended stay guests, what generally happens is that they stay, obviously, by definition, they're staying in for 7 or more nights. So what we see in those particular scenarios is that they generally bring in some food and beverage items from outside, from the grocery stores or from supermarkets. And hence the amount of trash that they have in the room is more than what a transient guest, a business or a leisure guest would have in their particular rooms. Now, it's important to have clean towels and amenities. So please, if possible, give them extra amenities right at the time of check-in so that you do not have to go and replace this on a daily basis. Obviously, cleaning the room fully every 5 days is important, but when you're visually inspecting the room, if you feel that room requires some cleaning after 3 days, do not wait for the 4th day, because in that manner, you are deteriorating the quality of the room yourself. Because once the guest leaves, then it will become more difficult to actually give that room to any other guest, to any transient guest. And this is a feedback that we've heard a lot of times. Oh, this room we only give to long stay guests because now it's not in a livable condition that a transient guest or a business guest should be staying. But that's such a wrong perception in my mind, because livable conditions are there for every guest. Now we need to treat every guest with respect and care. And why I stress a lot more, and just from my belief as to why extended stay guests are important, are because my feeling is that once they stay at your property for 7 nights or more, they are the ambassadors. It becomes easily, they would be the ones that would speak about your hotel. They would be the ones that would always talk to other people. They would be the ones that would recommend, but they would also be the people who would speak negatively if they have had a bad experience. The concept is that the propensity of them leaving a guest review is much higher post checkout. It becomes and on the flip side, it's also good for us in a manner that if we feel that the stay has gone well, it becomes easier for us to convince that guest to leave us a guest review from an extended stay guest. We have seen that the extended stay guest, the review conversion of theirs is much higher than the other guests. But what we've not been able to tap, especially at OYO, is the guest rating. Now, with extended stay guests, even if they are far and few, in this as a category in your hotel, only if you have like 2 guests or 3 guests or let's say 4 guests, but the per month, the main concept is that you have to ensure that you get a review out of these 4 guests, and always maintain a guest rating of at least 8 and above for these guests. Like I said, they're ambassadors. You have all the time that you want to solve any problems and you can definitely resolve any issues that the guest may be facing throughout the stay. One important point that we wanted to speak about, and if you remember right at the beginning, I said we want to go over the impact of housekeeping. And again, please forgive me because, like I said right at the beginning, I keep stressing on this point that good housekeeping definitely makes or breaks the guest experience. I cannot stress the importance of guest experience or ratings on revenue, because at the end of the day, this is what we need to start linking it back to. And that's why I feel more passionate while speaking about guest experience, because I know at the end of the day, this affects directly the performance of the properties. So it is extremely important for you all and for OYO, for both to succeed in this particular metric. So obviously, like I mentioned earlier on, that the basic expectation of a guest is a clean and a safe room. Now, if they do not get a clean and a safe room, obviously you're not meeting the basic experience. That has already resulted in a poor guest experience. That is also damaging your hotel reputation. It becomes extremely difficult to acquire a new guest, as we all know. Also, once we get a negative review, to counter that, we need 5 positive reviews. Now, what we've also observed is that it's extremely easy for a guest, once they've had a bad experience, to go and write a review. They're more likely to do that. Whereas if you provide good service to 10 different guests, only one of them will actually go and write a good review. So every time you get a negative review, please keep it in mind that you have to give great service to 50 guests, that at least 5 of them will go and give a good review or a positive review, and that will negate out your negative review. Then you have to service 10 more to then move into the positive or start your ratings go up. So it becomes more and more critical for you to keep ensuring that these negative experiences are eliminated. That, I feel, is the most basic, and this is what OYO definitely wants us, and this is the message that we want to keep communicating, that we start eliminating the negative responses. At times we become optimistic and we try to go into delight scenarios, and that's great, because at the end of the day, this is what hospitality is about providing a memorable experience for the guest. But and this is why we want to come back to basics, because we want to eliminate those small errors or issues or whatever we call them, but so that the guest experience is not hampered. Like I said, if the hotel reputation is damaged, there is definitely a loss of loyalty. You would suffer from the fact that there would be non-returning customers. And again, it's coming back to the point that poor guest experience would definitely mean bad revenue or decreased revenues for the hotel. It also means increased cost, because at times your revenues are going down. If your ratings are going down, you wouldn't be able to sell your room at a higher rate, but your cost is probably the same. Or at times, if you've not invested enough right at the beginning, the maintenance, in terms of maintenance of the room or maintaining the room at the same standard, it becomes more and more expensive as we go along, as the room gets older and older, to maintain that particular room. So your costs will start increasing, your revenues will start decreasing, and this definitely shows in your P&L. And that is something that becomes extremely hurtful. As a hospitality professional, I would not want anyone to go through that. So the entire request through this entire presentation that we wanted to make was just have your basics right. I feel that's, like I said, housekeeping is a basic expectation. It isn't something that we have added on, or we are saying that OYO is providing this something extra. And hence we feel it's the most critical department. We do know there are times when the housekeeping staff has gone above and beyond, and we do respect that. We keep looking at those reviews as well as to what has gone right. But more often than not, we keep getting a lot of negative reviews as well. And that is something that we definitely, as a brand, want to start cutting down upon. Now, the last slide that we had, we generally had a lot of situations. So we have 6 different situations here. But to be very honest, I would not want to get into these situations today. We'll send you this deck today, or by Monday, we'll send everyone out the deck. But and you can definitely look at your situations. If you all want to come back with an answer, or if you all have any questions regarding these situations, you all can email either us from the emails chain that we've been sending you, the OYO USGX email ID, or to your property performance manager, and they will get back to us. But even besides that, what the time that we have left, and we have some time left, so I would definitely request you all, if you all have any queries that you think that the broader audience should also be noticing, or should be observant about, or if you all had any point throughout the presentation that you feel that everyone should be learning about, because that is important, we all learn together, would request that. Like I said earlier, we have Dipali, Naomi, and Greg with us, and they've had a lot of experience. So we'll be more than happy to take on any questions at this time. And also, if you all feel the need that we need to speak to you all on a one-on-one basis, we would be more than happy to do that as well. So if you all do have any questions, please leave it to us in the chat, and we'll take it. So we'll stay on for the next 10 minutes. And if there are any questions, then we'll definitely keep answering them. But if not, then thank you all again for joining the webinar today. And like I said, we'll be sending out a mail with contest details. We'll be having a lot of, we'll be having 2 different contests during the last week of this month. And like I said, there'll be some fun prizes as well. So it'll be great. Again, the participation levels that you all have shown would be great if you all can keep that as well. But nonetheless, like Naomi's just mentioned, we'll still stay on this particular presentation for the next 10 minutes. If there is someone who feels that we need to answer any question, or if you all want to leave us a message to give you all a call directly, we'll be more than happy to do that as well. Thank you for the time today.